Hello again, everybody. Um, Tonight's been really, really bad. Like, dangerous kind of bad. And I need to talk about it. So, unfortunately for all of you, uh, you get to listen. Congratulations. Don't you feel special? Give you a little background. About 4.5 years ago, something like that, um, I called up a friendly local game store because they advertised D&D encounters, and I'd been interested in Dungeons and Dragons for a while. I played the video games for years, but I wanted to see what playing an actual game was like. So I called them up and I said, "Hey, I've never played before. What do I need?" And got really nothing from the guy at the store. He said, "Yeah, go ahead and just come on down. Um, you'll need you'll need a set of dice and you need a character, but if you just come down, like they can help you figure out everything that you need." um, but I went, what the hell, let's give it a shot. And so I came down, and I met my first DM, a gentleman by the name of Ben. And he was late, and so those of us that came to play, we just kind of all sat down, and I brought a character because back then they had on the D&D website, if you were D&D Insider, they had a character builder on their website you could use, and it was brilliant, really, really great, super easy to build a character. So I just built up I think it was a sword mage is what I built up, or something like that, or no, maybe something else. But anyway, so I get in there, and he's late, and so we just start playing. I'm like, I'd never played, and we just one of the players decided to DM, and so she just made up a uh, a dungeon on the spot, and we played. And this is fourth edition, so we had maps and minis and everything like that. And then the DM came in and kind of introduced himself and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry I'm late. I had other stuff I had to do. Next week we'll actually run a campaign, so go ahead and bring characters and everything. They can be level 1, and we're just gonna go for it." And that was my first experience in D&D. Um, Fast forward about, I don't know, 9 months, 8 months, something like that. Ben, my DM, couldn't really do it anymore. He had other stuff in his personal life that was going on, and so I kind of took over the mantle and I started running things, and it's phenomenal. It was amazing. I had run a home game for a couple of months, and that was really about it. And I had run my parody games. I actually play tested it with this group, D&D High. I play tested it about 4 times with them before I actually ran the game. Um, so I started DMing, and then Ben unfortunately disappeared. He and I are still really good friends. We talk to each other a lot, but we don't get to play together anymore because he has so much other stuff he's doing. Um, and I took over organizing for the store. And it started off with me and like two or three other people. I would DM, and like two or three people would show up every week. And it went on that like that for a while. At one point, I started up a game on Sundays just to see if there was more interest. And the store itself was like 15 minutes away from my house. So it was really, really easy and simple. And for about 6 months, it was regularly just two or three people. And then we started getting another and another and another. And eventually, that store, after I'd been running for about a year there, we had grown from two or three people at one table to regularly running up to about 21 people across 3 tables every week. We completely filled up the store, because it was a smaller store, completely filled up it. Um, And I actually got contacted because it was part of a group of stores that were all owned by the same person. I got contacted by the general manager uh, to talk about what it was that I had done to make D&D so popular here, because there's these other two stores, no one played D&D. And we talked a little bit, and I mentioned the things that I focus on, which is the idea of inclusivity, and no barriers to entry. Anyone can literally just walk in the door, sit down and play, having no experience. Um, and that was kind of my philosophy, and it worked really, really well. He attempted to replicate that at his other stores, but he didn't really follow my guidelines, and it kind of burnt down. Um, and then he started doing things like charging us to play and all these other things, and it got to the point where I couldn't deal with it, and so we moved to the store that we're at now. One of the things that I prided myself on was, if anyone ever had an issue, they could come to me and I would take care of it. If there was a player that was being disruptive, I would take them aside and go, hey, just wanted to let you know, I had a couple different people come up to me and say that, you're doing a few things. I just wanted to kind of talk to you about, what D&D is, and just kind of give you a better understanding of what we do here. Because my goal is for everybody to have fun. That's what I want. And right now, everybody isn't having fun. And we don't want that. So let's come up with a way for you and I to have you play your character in a way that everybody has fun, instead of some people have fun and some people don't have fun. All right. And I've had that conversation multiple times since I've been doing this. Like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years now. And I've had that conversation with players. I've had that conversation with my DMs where I've taken them aside and say, hey, listen, you're DMing in a certain way, which is fine, but this isn't like your home game. You have to DM a little bit differently here, because these are people that walk in off the street. These are people that don't have time to get completely invested in their characters. This is designed to be an infection vector. So you have to run a little bit different. You have to be open to people showing up one week and not being there next week, and brand new characters just randomly appearing. That's just how it works in a public play area. And other things like that. So recently, I stopped DMing about, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago, because I'd started to get burnt out, because I DM a lot. If you guys watch the channel and everything, like I DM a ton. And again, I've been doing it for 4 years. I never get to play. Like, I'm always the DM. In fact, the only time I had gotten to play in that 4 years had been at the convention that I was organizing for, because they needed some extra players, and so I actually got to run or play, and I had forgotten how much fun it was to play. So a couple months ago, I kind of sat down the group and said, by the way, guys, this coming up season, I'm not going to be DMing. I know that's what I generally do, but I've been infrequent. I also moved to the point where the store used to be, like I said, about 15 minutes. It was about, I don't know, 5-6 miles. It was not a really far distance. I moved, and now it's roughly about 50 miles away. So it's a lot harder for me to come out there, and with everything happening with my depression and everything, it became more difficult. And so for everybody's benefit, I said, I'm going to play, I'm not going to run. And I started training some new DMs to kind of take my place, and we're doing pretty well. We have, uh, 2 or 3 tables running at this new store on a fairly regular basis. We lost a few people when we changed stores, which happens. Um, but it's going pretty well, until fairly recently. And that's why I tweeted tonight that I had an extremely bad night. On my way home, one of the things that I do on my way home, which takes me about an hour, um, is I drive right past the hospital in the city that I live. Um, and on my way home tonight, I spent most of that hour-long drive trying to decide whether or not I wanted to go to the emergency room and check myself in for suicidal thoughts. Um, Not all of this is because of what happened at the game, but it was one of those kind of triggering events, final straws that just sent me into a downward spiral where I was very worried that I was going to attempt to do something stupid tonight. Um, I eventually decided not to, and I just came home. For really stupid reasons, to be 100% honest. I wasn't sure how I was going to get my parents' car back to them. Because once I got to the emergency room, they weren't going to, they weren't going to let me out until they were sure I was no longer a danger to myself. Um, and then I was also worried I wouldn't be able to see Critical Role tomorrow night. So, Critical Role, look what you do to me. So anyway, what happened at the game tonight? I don't know, a month ago, we were playing, and there's a player whom I've had to talk to before because I had somebody come up to me and say, well, this guy, he was just being a jerk. The way he was playing his character, is he would just run into rooms and he'd trigger all the fights and stuff like that. And he almost got the party into TPKs multiple times because he would just run in, do really stupid shit, and was playing his character very abrasively. And so I kind of sat him down. I said, hey, we all want to have fun. Not everybody's having fun. Maybe you can play your character a little bit differently. Because the guy I've known for over a year and a half now. And he's not a bad person. He really isn't. But for whatever reason, he just got into a mood and he wanted to play a very abrasive character, which didn't fit with the party mechanics or anything like that. And so it upset a few people. So I had that conversation with him. Now he and I are playing at the same table, which is fine. Being a DM, I've dealt with some really, really bad people at my tables, and I've never had any issues. But he came in a couple sessions into the campaign that we're doing. We're running Curse of Strahd. And in the fight the week before, I'm playing a paladin. I'm playing a vengeance paladin, and so I run into battle. We fought a bunch of werewolves, and I didn't have any silver weapons, and so I got my ass handed to me because I had four werewolves just jump on me, which is a common theme with this particular DM. I always get knocked out. He never rolls lower than about a 16 or a 17 on the die against me, and so generally I'm dealing with 21, 22 rolls against my AC, and even with Paladin AC up to an 18, he never misses and rolls real high damage, and I'm constantly getting knocked out. So in this fight, I got knocked out. So the way that he introduced these new characters, he had them come in and they found our fight. They found the aftermath of our fight. The bodies were left there and stuff. And so one of the guys rolls a survival check to try and track us. And just to kind of give a little more background and to be a little bit silly, he goes, oh, and you find a depression in the ground that's kind of deep, referring to where I fell, because again, I'm a big guy wearing heavy armor. I fell, and so there's a divot. And he got it into his head that he's like, oh, so some fat paladin fell. We all had a good laugh about it. And for the rest of the session, he just kept referring to me as the fat paladin and kept making jokes and stuff at my expense. And because it was my character and not me, I was kind of fine with it. He was annoying me, but I'm one of those people like, you know what? If everyone else is having fun, I'll go ahead and, go with it. Since then, this is the running gag. Every time he's in the party, all he does is plays a very abrasive character, generally does things to disrupt the game, go off the beaten path, stuff like that, intentionally trying to break the mechanics, which is something that I see as a DM. You see characters that their one goal is to try and piss off the dungeon master, and make him throw out all the prep work that he made. Um, which is fine if that's the way you want to play your character. It's absolutely fine. That's one of the cool things about D&D is you can do that. You can try and be free flowing and everything. Um, and But when he's not trying to break the game, he's just insulting my character over and over and over again, making fat jokes and saying that he doesn't have to worry about getting hit because the fat guy's in the way. And it was funny at first, and I joked around along with it for a little while, and it just started not getting funny. And this happens for, like I said, a solid month. We just keeps doing it more and more. We had another player that sat down. He's another person that I've had to have conversations with because he's a min-maxer. And his goal, again, is just to break the game. He can't have fun if he's not breaking the game and exploiting whatever he can exploit. And that's not a mindset that I understand because of how I roll and everything. I roll really, really bad. And so because of how I roll, I can't enjoy the game from a mechanical standpoint because I lose. I don't hit a lot of things. My saving throws don't go well, stuff like that. I don't do well. But if I can role play my character and create some sort of story or something like that, then I do really well, and I have a lot of fun. That's why I create these very intricate backstories for all of my characters. So this other guy, the min-maxer, sits down and he does everything he can to break the game. We were in a church, and the priest there, his son was trapped below the church, apparently inflicted with vampirism. And so we had talked to the priest and said, hey, do you want us to deal with your son? He's downstairs, he's moaning and stuff like that. Why don't, me being a paladin, I'm like, well, we can, end his suffering. He's like, no, I've got a plan to heal my son. Great, we can help you with that. He's like, okay, kill Strahd. Strahd is the big bad guy. So we're like, that's a great idea, except it's not. Are you sure you don't have a better idea that involves us curing him now? He's like, no, just kill Strahd and everything will be back to normal. We're like, okay, fine. If that's the way you want to do it, we're not going to stop you. And so the entire party agrees, you know what, let's just take a rest here. We don't have to worry about anything. He's locked in the basement. There's nothing bad can happen. The min-maxer, while we're all asleep, decides to take one of the watches, and during his watch, he wakes up the aggressive, abrasive player, and they decide that they're going to break in and kill this guy simply because he might have items. Completely going against the party, completely going against, what the DM had planned and everything. They're just like, no, we're going to do this. And so they decide to do that, and they fail at it. And we get to a point where I'm getting annoyed because due to the fact that these guys keep jumping in and arguing with everybody and diverting the game from us actually playing to metagaming and stuff like that, I can't role play my character at all. All I get to do is listen to them, argue and insult my character and call me fat over and over and over again. And I can't role play my character at all, and I can't really do anything. And then we get into combat, and being a vengeance paladin, my first response is always I dive into battle, and I start killing things in the hopes that if I kill them quick enough, they won't kill me. And that very rarely works because, again, the DM rolls super good against me. And we get to a situation that every single time something bad has happened to this character, his first response is he uses 2 longswords. So he pulls out his 2 longswords. And every single time something surprises him, he always pulls out his longswords, points one of them at whatever has spooked him, whatever has come out of nothing, and he says, identify yourself. Well, in the book, it said that this particular instance, that these really, really tough monsters. Um, they would only attack if they were trapped or if they were threatened. The DM decided that me pulling my swords out, like I've done in every other instance to every other character in the entire game that we've played thus far, and none of them have ever just started attacking me, decided that I was threatening this creature by getting in a defensive stance and pointing my sword, which is what I've done every single time. And so he throws these incredibly tough, like deadly level encounter at us. And as we're going through it, I'm like, this is really weird because I'm getting my ass kicked like it always happens, but everybody's getting their ass kicked this time because these guys are massively overpowered for a level. And so he finally goes, "Can I show you something?" And he shows me the book, and he shows me, he's like, "You threaten them." I said, "Your definition of threatening and mine are very, very different." He's like, "You pointed a sword at them. That's a threat." I said, "No. I got into a defensive stance, which I've done everywhere in the game." So we got into a little bit of an argument. And the DM is a really good friend of mine. Uh, and so I kind of took myself out and I said, "I understand what you're saying, and I can understand how you can interpret it that way. However, from another DM, I have been role playing this character the entire time the exact same way. What you have done here is you have punished me for role playing my character. That's exactly what it is. It's would have been, and I kind of explained to him. I said these particular characters are feral. They're humans, but they've gone feral. And so what this, and I read them the whole description. It says what this is basically saying is they've gone feral, and they don't want to fight, but they're not weak. So if you put them into a situation where they're afraid for their life, they're not just going to go away. They're going to teach you not to kill them. I didn't do that at all. There is nothing in that I tried to threaten them or anything. I simply reacted the exact same way. We're in a really bad place. Most of the stuff that pops out is trying to kill us anyways. Um, so I'm always in a defensive stance. And so we kind of agreed to disagree, and I'm like, okay, fine. Well, while this is all happening, the two guys just keep calling me fat and keep, not me, but my character, they keep calling me fat and they keep arguing with me. And then now the entire table is now blaming me for getting us into this fight, because I went and I threatened these things, and it just started getting to me. And my PTSD is triggered by verbal abuse, because I developed it or one of the triggers from it is verbal abuse, because I developed it from years of sustained verbal and emotional abuse. And so these guys, even though they're talking about my character, um, at this point, I can't differentiate that because they're pointing at me and they're referencing me. Even though they're talking about a fictional character, they're still saying, "Oh yeah, the fat guy over there did this," and the fat guy. And I have a massive problem with my weight right now. I weigh almost 300 pounds. Um, my father, who is morbidly obese, has a just shit ton of issues with him and is currently in stage 4 of dementia. Which they've been able to find correlation between diabetes and overweight and dementia, um, is only 50 pounds heavier than I am. And I've gained 50 pounds in the last 6 months. So my weight is a very touchy subject because I'm terrified that if I gain any more weight, and I can't stop, no matter what I do, I work out, I do everything, I can't stop gaining weight. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. There's nothing I can do. Um, I'm terrified I'm going to turn into him and lose my mind and all this stuff. And so these guys are just ripping into me, and I finally go, "Guys, you know, it was really funny at first. It's not anymore. We need to stop." And so they stopped calling me fat and turned the entire table into, "Well, you almost got us killed. You're playing poorly, and you almost got us killed, and you did this." And it just got to me. And so I left rather abruptly. The game ended. Like I waited, and then I left. I normally kind of stay after and talk to people and make sure that we have enough people to run games and everything the next day and all that stuff. Like I normally stay for a while to do that. And I didn't. I just got in my car and I left. And because of how bad this experience was for me, I am seriously considering not going back. And I hate that idea that I can't play D&D because two guys that are not bad people, they just, the only way that they can have fun is by breaking the game. And I don't know what to do. I've talked to both of them and said, hey, can you just stop breaking the game? I understand that you get a kick out of doing that, but it's not fun for anyone else. And they don't care because they can't. One of them, I sat him down and I said, listen, I understand, but I need you to not. He's like, well, fine, I won't play that character. I'll only play this character who's only broken in this way. I said, no, don't play a broken character. Well, why not? Because it's not fun for anyone else, but it's fun for me. It's great. No one else is having fun. This is a group. Well, yeah, everyone else is having fun because I'm able to make them, I make sure that we kill the boss. No, that's not the point. And so he's completely oblivious to the fact that other people aren't having fun. He doesn't understand that. And this other guy, like I said, I sat him down and I said, listen, you can't play your characters like this. If you want me to get really specific for you, this is how the alignment grid works. If you are evil, it's not that you're a bad person. It means you're selfish, and good means you are selfless. That's what the alignment grid means. If lawful, it means you obey rules. Chaotic means you disobey rules. If you're playing a character that is entirely motivated by his self and keeps doing things that would break rules, including rules of conduct, you are playing a chaotic, evil character. Even if you're not going around murdering babies, doing things like going against the party simply because you want loot is a chaotic, evil character. And according to Adventure League rules, you can't play chaotic, evil characters. So if you play it that way again, I have to kick you out of the table. And so I've had these conversations with him, and again, he doesn't seem to care. For him, I don't know if it's just excuse me. I don't know if it's just that he has latent like bullying tendencies that, being due to the fact that he's not an evil person, he wouldn't act out in real life, but given a fantasy world, he feels that it's okay to treat people like this. I don't know what to do. I don't want to stop playing D&D. I like playing D&D. And like I said, I've spent 4 years building this club and cultivating it into a very inclusive place. I have never told anyone that they weren't allowed to play at any of these tables. But I almost killed myself tonight. Because of a game. And I understand, like, it's not just because of the game. It was the fact that they happened to trigger my PTSD unintentionally. And because of that, and because of what's been happening all week, it was the final thing that led me into a very, very dangerous spiral. So it's not like D&D is causing me to commit suicide. No, my PTSD is causing me to contemplate suicide. These guys just triggered it. And they didn't know that that's what they were doing. They had no idea that that's what it was. I don't think anybody there knew that I was suicidal at that point. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I was in so much pain and agony, and my one outlet that I use to just give me that ability to kind of release and forget about my troubles, that one outlet had not just failed in that aspect, it had turned into an incredibly vicious addition to all of the pain and agony I'd been feeling. Um, and when you lose that one thing that you use to get yourself out of bad thoughts, it's terrifying. It's horrible. So yeah, that's what happened tonight. And I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I'm probably going to talk to the DM, because again, he's a really good buddy of mine, and we've been through a lot together. Kind of explain what happened. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand people that the only way they can enjoy themselves is by causing other people to not enjoy themselves. And that's what these game breakers do, is they want to make the DM not have a good time. They want to get the DM mad. They want to show the DM that he doesn't control them. Even though in Dungeons & Dragons, it's kind of the point of the DM. And that's not something I understand. And even more so, having that being brought to your attention and being completely oblivious to the idea that you could be causing other people to not have fun simply because your fun is breaking things is mind-boggling to me. And I've built this group on the idea of everyone can play. Anyone that walks in off the street can sit down at the table and play. So yeah, I'm pretty fucked up right now. I can't sleep. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning here. Not tired at all. I have no idea what's going to happen when I close my eyes. Another fun side effect of PTSD. Because of the trigger, on my way home tonight, I started reliving the traumatic experience in my childhood that caused me, that originally, I guess, inspired the PTSD. So that was fun, and I almost had to pull over and ground myself, right then, to keep me from going to a real bad place. Yeah. Yes, and like I needed to talk to someone about this, and I can't talk to anyone that I live with because they're the ones abusing me. And they're not ready to hear that they're abusive. And couldn't really talk to any of my friends because they're all asleep. So, yeah, I'm talking to you guys. It's been really rough recently. Like, really, really bad rough. I've had a couple times that I've been worried about what I'm going to do to myself. And that's not fun. That's not an experience anyone should have to go through, especially due to something as trivial as a fucking game. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'll talk to my I'll talk to the DM, come up with an idea, and it may be that I don't get to play D&D anymore. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I just needed someone to talk to, and I don't really have anyone else right now. So you guys are now my therapist. Congratulations. You did it without spending 6 years getting a master's degree in psychology. So that's impressive. And then after you do that, you have like 400 hours of like student therapizing you have to do before you can get licensed. So like you guys are totally ahead of the curve. Anyway, that was just super long, but like I said it's been super rough, and I needed to talk about it. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, bye. I'll see you tomorrow for, surprisingly enough, the first episode of my new mental health show. So, bye bye.